So tell me a little bit about your coaching journey, Bruna. You've
Okay,
been a coach for some time, and tell me your journey.
sure. So actually, I can say that I started coaching my sister since we were kids. I'm 6 years older than her, and then she would always come to me with many questions,
Mm,
as if I know everything. And she would tell me, like, Bruna, you know everything, so you have the answers.
mm,
But for me, I knew most of what she wanted to know because I was just a couple of steps ahead. And I
mm,
also wanted her to think for herself. So I started to get back to her with other questions to stimulate her critical thinking, to be autonomous. Also, when I was not there, when she was out with her friends or at school, she would be able to think for herself. This is what I wanted for her. But of
mm,
course, we were kids. She would get pissed off with me, and then
mhm,
we would start laughing at some point.
mhm,
And then I believe that being exposed to her
mhm,
questions, already started to give me this idea of how beautiful it is to see another person growing and to see that there are thoughts, behaviors, habits that we can change and that person will grow. So then, right in the beginning of my career in HR, my approach was already that. And that's happened 10 years ago and 11 years, 2014.
mhm.
Um, my point of view has been always this, that we can work through what we need to work through because it's possible, because we can grow. So then, since very early stages in my career, I started facilitating trainings, working closely together with managers, with teams, and it has been like this for these years, and I'm passionate about it.
What a beautiful start. I mean, starting from home, not
Yeah,
knowing what you're doing is coaching.
yeah, exactly.
And then in your current practice, what is your really focus on in your coaching practice?
Okay. Right now, I'm focusing on helping out senior managers and executives handling stress, handling anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
because they are in a leadership position and they feel lonely. So I come in as a neutral point of conversation, a space where they can share their thoughts. And then there are also many emotions involved. And it's also a process of getting connected with them, processing these emotions. I'm also working with teams to help them in being also more resilient, managing stress as a team and individually because we are working together as a team, but stress also comes from our personal lives. And then helping out individuals in achieving a career that is fulfilling to them, always with the work life balance and stress management as a background.
Mm.
So, this is how I have been helping out individuals.
And so, when you're working with these leaders to manage stress and anxiety and work life balance, tell me a little bit about your experience about working for stress and anxiety. What it is, how do you define them?
Okay. So, in regards to anxiety, specifically, we can say that anxiety is happens when the body reacts when we start anticipating concerns. Anxiety is not more than this. It's an anticipated concern, and our body reacts to that. Some people they lose appetite.
Mm-hmm.
Some others they start eating a little bit more or a
Mm,
lot more. They get grumpy, they
mm,
get silent, they isolate themselves, they have heart attacks, hair loss,
uh,
some allergies in the skin and the tip of their fingers. There are many reactions. And
mm,
when we talk about work related anxiety and work related stress, it can come from a number of sources as well.
mm-hmm,
And if we use the model that Christina Majlek, she's the professor, an American professor who developed the concept of burnout, the
mm-hmm,
theory, and she's the one who started researching it 30 years ago. And then We have some sources, six sources of stress that are actually mismatches that happen throughout the experience of a person in the workplace. And
Mm,
then one of those mismatches is the value conflict, for example, when your values are conflicting with the values within the team or within the business or the management style. Another type of source of stress is when you don't feel that you belong to that community,
uh-huh,
because in the end, why are you there if you don't believe, if you don't feel connected
mm,
to your community there?
mm,
Another type of stress is absence of fairness, when you experience something at work which is actually not fair, as in if someone got promoted instead of you did, so it
mm,
becomes a source of stress. Lack of control, and then micromanagement is a good example for that. Work overload is a big source of stress when you see everything you have to do, or you feel this pressure and you just realize that, like, okay, this is a lot, I cannot do it.
mm,
And the last one is insufficient rewards. And I'm not talking only about compensation and benefits, but being recognized also comes into this
mm.
family of source of stress.
Oh, okay. So these are the sources of stress for an individual at work and in personal life. And is there a difference between stress and anxiety, by the way?
Yes, anxiety comes in episodes, in certain types of episodes. You can have a panic attack, an anxiety attack, and it happens in different times of the day. It's punctual. Stress is prolonged. It can happen. You can be stressed, but not necessarily anxious.
Hmm. Hmm. Ah,
Stress is a bigger umbrella, and anxiety is inside it.
okay. Okay. All right. What are the behavioral differences in a human, in a person, when they're experiencing stress versus experiencing anxiety?
Okay. So when we talk about stress, for example, and if we follow the same model I mentioned from Christina Maslach, and then the model of burnout, the symptoms of this chronic stress sources that become a symptom, they are split also in three other groups. And then the first one is called physical and emotional exhaustion. So a person who is stressed can present this symptom of emotionally drained. I don't have the mental space to deal with that, or maybe a tiny thing happened and you overreact.
Hmm.
This is the emotional exhaustion. Also, the physical exhaustion, you feel depleted, you don't have energy. Then another symptom of stress can be isolation. You
Hmm.
don't feel like wanting to socialize, to interact with your family, friends, even with your partner, also with the co-workers, with colleagues. You feel like you don't want to work. You open your laptop, you just log in into your computer to start working, and then you feel already like logging off. I want to really do the bare minimum and leave. Plus the depression, plus irritability. Some people, they get neutral to everything. Anything that can happen, they just don't react. They're just there. These
Hmm.
are also symptoms of stress, how a person can be stressed. Also, anxiety comes in there. And then your body also starts presenting other physical symptoms, such as the ones I mentioned, like acceleration in your heartbeat. You have spinning thoughts as well. You can also have hair loss out of stress and anxiety combined. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to dissociate them, but let's take that. And a person can be stressed without being anxious.
Hmm. Hmm.
And another symptom of stress, who leads also to the diagnosis of burnout is something that we can make a confusion with an imposter syndrome, but it's actually a symptom of tiredness, a symptom of burnout, which is the belief that you're not capable of doing what you already did or what you already have done in the past.
Hmm.
And it's a symptom. It's not an imposter syndrome.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's also
It's a
because of
symptom.
stress. Yeah, it's a symptom. It doesn't mean that you're not capable. It doesn't mean that you're outstanding and amazing.
Hmm.
But a stressed person can believe, can doubt his or her own capabilities. And of course, the productivity will be affected because imagine you're feeling depleted, you don't want to
Hmm.
interact and socialize with other people, and you believe that you're not capable of doing your job. So then, of course, your productivity will be affected. Everything I'm talking about here, these are stress symptoms. This is
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
it's weird. It feels weird because then you're like, oh, I'm tired. But then I'm like, no, I cannot do this anymore. But you already did it. It's a symptom. So a stressed person can sound like this. It's weird,
Hmm.
but it is like this.
Hmm. Hmm. And how do you also define the word burnout? You use that word couple of times. Is there a difference between stress, burnout, and I mean, anxiety and stress we've spoken about? What is
Yes.
burnout?
Okay. So the World Health Organization defines burnout as
Mm-hmm.
chronic work-related stress is a syndrome.
Uh-huh.
Burnout is a syndrome that results from chronic work related stress that were not managed successfully. So
So
then there are
chronic.
some highlights in this definition. Sorry, go ahead.
So it's chronic stress at work,
Yes, and it's a
not
symptom.
managed. It's okay. Uh,
Yeah.
okay. So going back to, I'm sorry, what you were saying.
Yeah, I was going to highlight a couple of elements in this definition. Understanding that
Uh-huh.
burnout is a syndrome in the
Uh-huh.
medical field,
Uh-huh.
it's important first to remember what a syndrome is. It's an ensemble of symptoms that characterizes a condition and not necessarily has a proper cure or a definite treatment. Like
Mm.
taking a medicine, pursuing these steps as a treatment, and then it will go away. A syndrome is chronic. It can come, it can go away. There are some symptoms that will be there sometimes, in another case another symptoms will be there, but every time in the medical field there is something not very much precisely that happens in the body, then we tend to understand it as a syndrome in psychology as well. um, so this is something important about burnout to take into consideration, that n- every time you have a burnout in your life, I hope you don't, I really hope you don't. But every time you do, not necessarily the symptoms will be the same. And it won't be necessarily the same for everyone to get burned out and to get out of it. So, this is the first important part of the definition. It's a syndrome. Second part of it, I would like to highlight is the fact that it's work related and it's chronic. So, these sources of stress, they are coming from the workplace and it's chronic. Sometimes they're there, sometimes it's not, but every time they appear, they are piling up in your shelf inside your head. There's a layer, and then another layer, another layer, another layer. It's not something that happens in a week or throughout a couple of days, but it's something that happens throughout the time. And the third aspect I would like to highlight is the fact that the definition says that all this was not managed successfully. A period. The definition doesn't mention that it was not uh, that it was unsuccessfully managed by the employee, or that it's responsibility from the manager or the company. The definition stops there because it's a shared responsibility.
Hmm.
It's a responsibility of the employee, it's a responsibility of the manager, and it's a responsibility of the company's culture.
I wanted to repeat because you were breaking up for me. So you said the first highlight is a syndrome, and the
Okay.
other one is work related.
Yes.
So can you tell me once again from there?
Should I repeat everything? The three
No, from
highlights?
work related. Yeah, yeah. So one is the
Okay.
syndrome. What is the highlight about work related?
Okay. The second highlight about the work related part.
Uh-huh.
It's chronic. So
Uh-huh.
it means that as a syndrome, it will appear in some times and it won't appear in other times.
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
idea behind being chronic related stress is that these situations will happen over time
Uh,
at work,
uh-huh.
and it doesn't happen in a couple of days. Today I'm okay, tomorrow I'm burned out. It's
Uh,
not like that. It's
uh,
something that happens during weeks, during months, for some people during years, and every situation that causes you this stress or situations that are naturally stressful, they are being accumulated until you reach your limit and then you find yourself burnt out. So then the third highlight is regarding the part that all these chronic work related stress factors, they are there and then they were not successfully managed, period. This is what the definition says, and it doesn't continue saying it was not successfully managed by the employer, by the employee, or by the company,
mm,
because it's a shared responsibility.
mm,
It's not only on the employee side, because as the employee is the one burned out,
mm,
we tend to think that, okay, it's my fault.
uh,
I didn't manage. I should have worked harder. I should have said that. I should have said that. But it's not a personal failure. This is the
uh,
most important to
uh.
understand there.
Right. So someone who goes through stress, anxiety, or burnout or whatever, when you're coaching, what is the outcome you're looking at?
First of all, I want this person to feel happy, energized, to feel reconnected with him or herself, and to feel, okay, I feel like myself again. Because if we think of all the symptoms we mentioned, you are really far away from who you really are.
Hmm. Hmm.
The symptom of exhaustion, both physical and emotional, can last long until you get rid of it. When I had my burnout, I took a year and a half to get rid of this physical depletion sensation. And I'm
Hmm.
someone that wakes up early in the morning, energized already, happy. I want to do many things. I want to speak to people and then go to the gym. And it was absolutely weird for me to spend that year and a half, 18 months,
Hmm.
waking up and spending my days feeling as if I didn't have enough sleep.
So you said you didn't like that experience in your body for those months and 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And you said you also wake up in the morning, you're already energized, you want to talk to people. So what was happening? On one side you're waking up energized, and the other side you're not liking it. What do you think was lacking?
So I realized that I had built a toxic relationship with work. And it's also something that happens. Burnout among entrepreneurs is very common. There are plenty of studies showing incredible numbers about it. And even if I'm a psychologist, even if I did my studies in work psychology, even if I also studied about occupational health coaching, burnout itself as well, I saw myself burned out.
Uh,
And of course, I felt that it was a personal failure. but I needed to zoom out and understand what was going on. That it was not a regular fatigue or lack of organization, but I really needed to step back and understand point by point in my behaviors what was changing, how I was feeling, and where I wanted to be headed to. So I work with my clients also in this direction, understanding like, okay, what is not going well? What's stressing you out? Which are the sources? What's making you anxious? Sources of stress?
Hmm.
What's dysfunctional?
Hmm.
And then we go point by point.
Hmm. And what general responses you get in terms of what are the sources of stress and where is it coming from? What are the common responses you get?
Relationship with peers and business partners.
Okay.
The difficulty to express your opinion, the difficulty or barrier that you create when handling difficult conversations, big amount of stress that comes out from there. Also, the political dynamics of being in a leadership role.
Yeah.
You have to be attentive of every step, every word, positioning every argument in a meeting, how you're gonna share information with the team. It's delicate situation where my clients found themselves in.
And what's the process now? So we know the source, we know the destination, energized, happy, reconnected. What do you do?
Yes. So then we
Hmm.
start understanding the scenario that they're in.
Uh-huh.
Who are the people involved? Which are the consequences? Which are the possibilities? Which are the possible scenarios? What's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? And which are the hypotheses that we can draft about which one of those scenarios? This is actually a method that I use within the cognitive behavioral coaching
Hmm.
framework, which is drafting these scenarios. And after that, drafting hypotheses and start testing them. I like to use the metaphor as if we were writing a scientific article.
Uh-huh.
In the beginning, you have the introduction, you set up the scene, and then you share with your reader which are the hypotheses you're testing with that study. And then after that, you share the results. Briefly explained, but this is also I like to guide my clients through these difficult situations. So this is a more structured approach that we take. Alongside that, we also do a strong connection with the emotions, how they feel, how a certain person, how a certain remark made them feel, how do they want to feel,
Uh,
and then we start exploring from there.
okay. So you so you mentioned about cognitive behavioral coaching and emotions.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit more about the cognitive behavioral coaching. How do you define that? What is it?
Okay. So the cognitive behavioral coaching approach understands that our behaviors they are connected to an emotion, and this emotion is connected to a thought. So then either we can start tracking the behavior by the behavior itself, by the emotion, or by the thought. And then if we want to change a behavior, the first thing we need to understand is which are the thought, the idea that is behind that behavior and what triggers the emotion. And then
Mm,
we can change the behavior. When
mm,
we are talking about a situation which is chaotic or the person has some difficulty in separating them. And
Mm-hmm.
then we start exploring from one of those. Might seem a little bit crazy, but for me, I'm used to that. And then it's
Hmm.
easier for me to decodify what
Hmm.
is what.
Hmm.
But then when you're inside the situation, can be a little bit more, can be trickier to do this separation.
Hmm.
But in general lines, the cognitive behavioral coaching is based in the cognitive behavioral therapy. And
Mm-hmm.
then once we condense CBT with coaching, is bringing a practical approach to it,
Hmm.
combining it with next steps, with practical steps.
So exploring the past and then combining with some practical steps for the future to take actions for our client.
Exactly.
And you said it's a thought, emotion, or a behavior. So ultimately, the goal is the behavior in cognitive behavior theory or therapy. Sorry, or what is the main focus? Emotion, thought, or behavior?
So the behavior. But
Behavior,
we cannot ignore that the behavior is connected to an emotion and to a thought.
right?
I know that my answer is tricky because the coaching part of it, and what coaching is simply working intentionally in changing a behavior to achieve a certain goal that
Right.
was set by the client previously. So then we have a certain behavior that the client wants to change. Bruna, I feel anxious about that meeting. I feel anxious about that person. My CEO makes me anxious. I need to change that. I cannot move on like this. So then we are going to, okay, this is the coaching part. This is the goal. Change that. I want to feel comfortable with my CEO. And
Hmm.
then we will start identifying which are the other emotions that are in this same
Hmm.
relationship, and then identify the thoughts. And then we work on changing limiting beliefs,
Hmm.
opinions, and opening up for other hypotheses, for other possibilities.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. How do you see the combination of the two, the CBT
Uh,
and coaching?
okay. So this is where the cognitive behavioral coaching lies, because if we think of just the coaching alone,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
there are many ways of working in changing someone's behavior. There are many authors out there. Each coach also develops a method. But then when I found myself in the coaching practice, and when I also think of the cognitive behavioral therapy and how much effective it is, backed
Uh-huh.
up by science, also because I have been a patient from a CBT approach as well. And I also really like it as a patient, helped me out getting rid of my anxiety episodes.
Uh-huh.
I find this combination, which is a discipline alone, cognitive behavioral coaching, effective and practical. Because there is also a danger in exploring the coaching journey in an abstract way.
Hmm.
And I believe that the cognitive behavioral therapy luggage brings in structure and self awareness and brings the patient or client, and then it's how each one will prefer to call the client. I call client.
Hmm.
How the client will go through the situation, and then it's a call back to reality. And I
Hmm.
really like to like, okay, what's really happening? It's structured, it's easy to follow, and we have actionable steps, which is also
Hmm.
important to move forward and
Hmm.
change the behavior.
Hmm. Yeah. And so tell me, do you work with only with leaders who want to change on behave change with who want to see changes in their behavior, or is it also could be my limiting belief, my emotional intelligence or something else too? So would you still call it CBT approach?
Yes, because if we think of developing emotional intelligence, we can use the CBC approach in the same work frame, because it's about connecting with the emotions and how you express your emotions. The development of emotional intelligence is understanding your emotions, what triggers them, and how you can use your emotions in your favor. So the CBC approach comes back in as a practical and clear approach to that, to understand what's connected to the reality, the situation, the real situation, and what is connected to a limiting belief, an opinion, or a judgment
Mm,
that is not allowing you to connect with the emotion, have a proper, to have an accurate idea of what's happening and
mm.
behave accordingly.
Right. So it's really a deeper level of understanding of the client and their root causes in a way, which CB plus C, I think, can
To-
combine, can work. Yeah. Great. And tell me, what are you up to now these days? What's happening? So you coach, what else?
I started something amazing, which is a partnership in a business school called IPAG in Paris. We started working together last year, and this year we are continuing our partnership. And then I am teaching there for the students about burnout prevention. And it's absolutely amazing to be in the classroom with the students. They are so curious. They have this sparkle in their eye because they are finishing the studies, starting to work, curious about the next steps in their careers, and they also want to learn more about themselves. So I feel very fortunate that I started having this closer contact with students, and very soon I will be there with them again.
Hmm.
So it excites me a lot.
I can see that excitement, and
Yeah.
all the best for you.
Thank you.
So we're going to kind of wind up in some time now. My couple of questions. Number one now is, what advice would you give to a leader who is at the verge of burnout or has got chronic stress? What should they do about themselves?
That's a great question. My advice for leaders who are at the edge of burnout is to start taking action right now, because this fatigue won't get better alone. It's not that one day you will wake up and everything you're feeling will go away. One of my clients actually came to me after an appointment with his cardiologist. The highly stressful environment and pressure that he has been dealing with led him to have a high blood pressure.
Hmm.
And his doctor suggested him to be seen specifically to handle stress. And he already knew what he needed to do, which was looking for specialized support for that.
Hmm.
And I'm talking about a consequence for the heart. Some people, they decide to take their own lives because of stress, which is something serious. We tend to underestimate our symptoms,
Hmm.
which are signals that your body is already showing. Not because you're a little bit stressed. When the blood pressure is already higher than normal, you are stressed a lot longer than you think you are.
Hmm.
Your body has been putting up with that. Okay, I'm trying to find my balance, I'm trying to find my balance, and then there's a limit.
Hmm.
So if you feel that your behavior has changed, and an indicator for that is how you react, how you spend time with your family,
Uh-huh.
how much time, quality time you spend time with your family. If you overreact or if you underreact of something that one of them tells you, this is a good indicative. If you are more irritated or if nothing gets you. So pay attention to the changes in your body and take action now.
Thank you. Thank you. And how people can reach out to you if they want to learn more about your coaching practice, or if they want to be a client?
They can reach out to me on my LinkedIn.
Hmm.
I am someone very active on LinkedIn. I am someone also very active on Instagram. My Instagram is Bruna Moscon, same as my LinkedIn. And I like to keep my communication very open. So it's easy. Just reach
Great.
out.
Sure. Great. Thank you so much, Bruna. It was a lovely conversation today. And I have myself learned a lot about
Thank you.
the CBC and stress and burnout and anxiety. And I'm sure our viewers will also. Thank you once again. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Harry. It was a pleasure.
Welcome.